Welcome to Tiny Studio Big Ideas podcast, where we talk about greater ideas coming from the tiny little studio, wherever that studio may be metaphorically. And today, being the end of the year, I just kind of want to do a recap of how creativity works through us. So, I'm going to go through how creativity comes into us, how it passes through, how it expresses itself in the form of painting, but you can use that for absolutely anything and I think everything else out there. And then I want to talk a little bit about ways on how to get yourself unstuck when you feel that you are in a creative rut, and some of the things that you can do to open that up and get yourself back in the flow, back in the zone, as they say. Imagine creativity as some kind of immense, indescribable, immeasurable energy. And, where it actually lies, I don't know, but we imagine that it's up there and out there beyond us. But I mean, in many respects, this is getting off topic already, and I tend to do that, but in many respects, creativity could be coming from the depths of ourselves and flowing upwards and outwards through us. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's just take the idea that is up there and out there, okay? And it is endless and unrestraining. It has everything. There's openness, freedom, everything is this incredible and beautiful creative energy. And we need to harness it. We need to connect to it. So if we're using energy as out there and up there and beyond us, all we need to do is open up this inner channel and step aside and allow it to come through us. Throughout the years, we often hear of the Creative Muse, of artists waiting for creativity to strike them before they get up to paint their masterpiece or write their masterpiece. And maybe, but I kind of have a different experience. And I believe that with intention, we are able to connect to that creative muse anytime we choose to. So we have that energy up above us that is out and is immense. It is infinite. It is everything. And we need to connect to it. And how do you do that, right? Most of the time, speaking from an artist perspective, I am sitting at the table in the morning, writing in my journal. I have my morning coffee. It's beautiful. The sun is shining through the window in such a way that it strikes something, the flowers on the table, something. And I am suddenly, before I have an actual mental thought, am attracted to what I'm looking at. There is this inaudible big bang of a moment where I suddenly become aware that there is something about what I'm looking at that I like. And if I pursue that and latch onto it, then I can bring that down into my sixth chakra and the third eye area in my mind, basically, where I can begin to visualize, I can begin to fantasize about what could possibly happen with this image that I saw, with what attracted me, with this inaudible big bang that just happened. And I begin to imagine how this might become a great painting. What would I do? Would I, do it this way? Would I turn the flower pot a little bit that way? Would I add some fruit beneath on the table, or add some kind of tablecloth to give it a whole different feel? You just kind of imagining these different options and opportunities before committing yourself to them. And that's all happening up here in the third eye area. And then we limit it even more to the area of beginning to communicate the idea outwards. And as artists, we're not talking to a lot of people about our ideas or voicing it out in the typical chakra understanding. This is the area of sound waves. And, sound waves, I think the most audible part of this area for an artist is maybe the scratching of the pen or charcoal on paper as you are doing thumbnail sketches, to see just how much you want to communicate, or how you want to communicate this idea outwards. So yeah, maybe there is some sound waves going on, or maybe you're telling somebody or telling yourself. I often go when I pass by a mirror and say, hey, I really like this idea. And I may speak it outwards, but a lot of people won't. We don't need to get stuck on the chakras in their typical yogic sense. I'm just taking the same kind of roadmap and using it for our creativity to understand how this channel works in painting or in anything else. So in this stage, we are limiting more and more. Remember, if creativity is coming from the realm of the unlimited energy, and we need to bring it down, and we can't bring it down and have it be unlimited. We need to limit creativity in order for it to work through us. In order for us to use it in any kind of way, we have to limit it down. Just like any thought that's happening up here that you get, if you don't actually limit it down and make it something practical in this practical world, it's just going to remain this abstract thought, this abstract idea that's floating around up there. So when we bring it down into the fifth chakra area, which is the area of communication, as artists, we're communicating by drawing thumbnail sketches, doing maybe different ideas and trying things out in different ways. And when we find a thumbnail sketch that we really like, that's when we move down, we limit it even more into the heart area, where we are coming to the point of making that decision. Do I want to paint this? Do I want to get physical now? Pull out my paints and my brushes, set up my studio, and I want to paint this. If it's a yes, then that is what you do. Then you will move down into your solar plexus area, which is the area where you make the decision, where you put in your willpower. Yes, I am going to paint this. And, begin to set up the materials that you need in order to begin the creative process. And that will move us down into the second chakra, which is the water element. So water is flowing and moving and coming and going, and sometimes crashing and sometimes very serene and calm. And this is the area where you're standing at your easel and you are painting. And you are working with that creative flow between you and that creative energy that has come through you to paint this incredible painting. And you go through that and then sign the painting and you put it out into the world for others to enjoy. And it's really a beautiful process. When you understand how this works in you and you can follow it, when you're outside somewhere, you see something that suddenly you have this very, very abstract, an inaudible big bang. That's what I call it, because it's like a big bang, even though you can't really hear it and there are no real boundaries around it yet. So you're looking at something and you realize that, this would make a really good painting. And then you begin to imagine it and work with it. What size canvas, what would be your color palette for this kind of painting? What would be the mood? Why do you want to paint this? You would answer some of these questions, and then you bring it down and you begin to actually work with it, doing your thumbnail sketches, communicating that idea outwards in a more physical sense. And when you have like that preliminary thing going and you decide that you really love the idea, then you move it down into the physical. Get in your studio, pull out your paints, set up your canvas, and begin the painting process and put it out into the world. It is a phenomenal thing to understand. So as you're going through this channel, this understanding, you can begin to understand yourself on a deeper level, because the areas that you get stuck with your painting or your possible painting oftentimes are the same areas where you are somehow stuck in your own life. So the first thing that you need to do is understand how the process works, and then you can go in and find out and understand what you can do about it. So let's say you have a creative block, right? And this has happened to me. It happens quite often as a sense of how creativity gets stuck in me. And that is this sense of perfection, not being good enough. And when that happens, you're just not good enough, it keeps me in a state of never moving into the actual physical decision-making process, standing at my canvas and actually painting. It just keeps me on the couch or keeps me in the idea of it. And shutting myself down here in the solar plexus area, just kind of closing that up, I get all these creative ideas, but never, hardly ever actually went through and put them out into the world. I was very much like this for much of my life. I was not painting then. When I began painting and learning how to paint and moving into painting even more, I began to see that I could, in fact, create paintings knowing that they were not good paintings, knowing that they were, studies, that they were practice, that they were just areas, steps that I needed to take to learn how to paint something. And I was okay with that. I became comfortable with the failures. I became comfortable with the average of not being spectacular on the first try. And through painting and through that kind of understanding, I was able to understand how creativity was working in me, the area that it was getting stuck, that I was not allowing it to happen. And I just worked through it. I just let it go. And some of the things that I did to let go was simply just not paying attention to the inner dialogue happening, which was habitual by the time, I was in my 20s of, oh, well, it's not going to be good enough anyway, so why even bother? I mean, just go do something else. And I began to catch those thoughts and say, okay, I have that thought. And then I would look at my place where I was as an artist, and I would ask myself, are you in fact good enough to create a masterpiece? And of course the answer was no, of course not. And so since I was not in that place to be able to create a masterpiece, well, you better get on painting then. And, that was one way that I was able to help myself over that creative block and get myself into the physical act of putting a painting together. And the more I did that, of course, the better I got. Another way to work with creative blocks is to, actually leave your studio and go do something else. Whatever that something else is, give yourself the time and space to let go, let be, and step away. This is often what I will do when I am stuck on a painting, when I cannot quite figure out what's not working. Why isn't this painting working? And I will just put it away, step aside, go do something else, take a few days off the island, and come back. Come into the studio again after a few days and assess where I am. If that feeling is still there, then what I will do is take out a very small piece, just small canvas paper and put some gesso on it, and I will paint anything. I will paint a purposefully rotten, horrible painting. I will paint what I think my abilities are, what that voice is, that yapping ego, you'll never get anywhere, you're not good enough, and paint a painting for that lower energy of mine. And, when I do that, I can take the painting. And, what I love to do, especially now, is take it to the fireplace and light it on fire and let it go. And I often find just doing something as simple as that, it only takes about 15 minutes of my time, that immediately whatever has been gnawing at me, whatever, confining, constricting, negative kind of thoughts, energies that are left in me, trying to express itself. Let's call it the ego. The ego is always trying to protect you and keep you safe and alive. So if if I actually go in and start painting and become, a good painter, the ego cannot protect me there. So sometimes that comes through. And so just crumple it up and let it go. And then when I come back in the studio, I often find that I am, in fact, better. That suddenly my creativity is flowing again. There is more space within. I'm open, and it's all wonderful. Some other more daily practices to nourish that creativity in you is exercise. And not only exercise like going to the gym, right? But I mean getting outside and getting in the sunlight, getting direct sunlight. Take the sunglasses off, just, let yourself go for a half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, and go for a nice walk. And take the headphones out, don't do anything, just become present with where you are right now. And that does a couple of things. One is when you haven't got the headphones in, listening to some book and doing, listening to somebody else's podcast or this one, it keeps you more in tune with what's going on with you. And as you're walking and moving and breathing and getting the sunlight, there will be releases of the serotonin and the dopamine going on from this daily nourishing practice. I like to go out and walk down to the beach, and I take a cold water swim. Any of you cold water swimmers out there doing the ice baths, whatever, you all know what I mean. Just the fact of getting into the ice water is, there is an incredible opening to that. And that nourishes the creative pathway. It simply does. And so these are some of the basic practices that you can do. If you practice yoga or are meditating, to sit and meditate for 20 minutes. Work through where that block is. What might be happening to hold you back? Is it those negative thoughts? Again, you're not good enough. You're never going to be good enough, so why bother? Then, if you can see what's happening and where that negativity is coming from in your meditation, you are able to release it, to take in a deep breath, and on the exhale, let it go. And it doesn't mean that it goes away forever. It'll still be there, but you are not attached to it. You're letting go of your attachment to your perceived ideas of failure. And so that's another thing. Many times I will also do this type of meditation by drawing mandalas. I love drawing mandalas, and it is a very, very meditative practice. You're starting with the circle and then beginning a design, a pattern around that circle, and then you growing it outwards and growing outwards and growing outwards. And oftentimes painting or drawing a mandala will bring me back into a very positive sense of presence and balance, which, I'll put the pen down and turn around to my easel and begin painting. So these are some of the things that I do to work with any kind of creative block. In order to work with your creative blocks, you need to understand where you get blocked. I know that I get blocked in my solar plexus area. That's it. And the areas up here, the more abstract levels, I travel pretty freely and I love it. But it's shock, that third area, that sense, that willpower and determination, decision making, and then pushing it down into the physical, where I shut down. So it has been quite a process for me. I know what to do depending on where I'm getting stuck and why. And when you can understand that, then you have control over this creative process. Then you have the option to open yourself up to that funnel of allowing more creativity to flow through you, flow into you. And if you keep bringing it down and pushing it out into this physical world, the more that space opens up, the more you can step beyond those self-limiting blocks that happen. It's not creativity that is blocking you or not coming to you. Creativity is always there. It is always available to us. But if we're stuck somewhere and we're not working with that area, we won't be able to access that creativity. We won't even notice that the creativity is there, waiting to come through us and to manifest itself into this beautiful world as our creative endeavors, as our artwork, as our, explorations into the world of writing, whatever your creative act is. So, coming back at the end of the year and looking at this creative pathway once again, I do find that because I know where my creative blocks are, where I am blocked, it's not my creative blocks. Creativity can never be blocked, ever. We are blocked, and we must open ourselves up to allow more creativity to come through us. So the more I understand this, and this past year especially, I have come through and opened up my solar plexus area in a very positive way. One, by this YouTube channel and these podcasts that I just decided, with the idea of being good enough, and I don't need to be perfect, to show up, be consistent, give, and all will be well. And that has been the case. So at the end of this year, I am very grateful for this understanding of the creative process. I call it, painting from the top down, from inspiration to manifestation, and understanding how it works helps me be a better artist, helps me be a better mentor, and helps me be a better me. Can't beat that. So that's all I'm going to say today about the creative process. I would love to hear how creativity works through you. I would love to hear how you understand creativity and the ways that you work with this immense, immeasurable, invaluable energy to help you create your beautiful paintings. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. And have a beautiful, beautiful day. Wishing you a beautiful New Year's. May 2024 be incredible in a very beautiful way for all of us.